town on a boat from the southern islands, sailing to reach before a following.
Hey, I'm Elite Series Pro Keith Combs, and I want to show you the basic components that I use when I'm doing that kind of fishing. I'm going to start out. I have a 1.25 ounce Strike King tungsten weight, and I'm going to fish it on 60-pound. Sometimes I'll use 80-pound, but I'm going to use 60-pound Seaguar braid right here. It's real slick and smooth, and that's also important. That's one thing I like about this line, is when you're flipping through hyacinths or grass, or hydrillas is real bad about this. A lot of times you can actually hear the line scraping when you're working it up and down through the grass. Seaguar's braid is extremely slick and smooth, and you don't get that kind of abrasion. And I just, I'm not real comfortable when I have that. I think it spooks some fish. So here's the basic setup: 1.25 ounce tungsten, Strike King tungsten weight. We're gonna run our braid through. Then we got our punch skirt, and we're gonna trim this up in a minute. We'll just run that through. Slide it down to the weight. The hook is very important because you don't want a hook that's gonna have any kind of flex. And Strike King's actually got the only hook that you're gonna need to punch with. This is a 4/0. They make 4, 5, and 6. It's a Strike King hack attack hook, and man, it's strong. I mean, when you hit him, it's not going to give, it's going to penetrate, and that's very important that you get that penetration without that hook actually flexing out. I tie just a Palomar knot. Strong enough. I'm going to cut off the excess, and I'll put different type of trailers on here. I like one that's kind of firm because you don't want it ripping up constantly. I'm either going to use a Strike King rodent today. I'm going to use a Okeechobee colored craw, Strike King Rage craw. And I'm choosing that because it has a lot of action. The water out here is really off colored, so I'm gonna want something to grab their attention when it busts through the mat, but still yet it doesn't have a lot of appendages. It's really compact, so when it goes through the grass, it's gonna condense up, slip right through. The hook has a keeper on it. Sometimes, if I can get away with it, I'll trim this up just a little bit. If you're fishing real thick vegetation, you might want to let it hang out, but I'm gonna trim it up just a little bit so it'll actually come through the bait a little bit easier. But with this hook, I'm going to actually trim this up a little bit. I want it as small as possible to go through these holes in this hyacinth. And we're just going to Texas rig it. We're going to get the entire hook inside of the plastic. Got our keeper out there. Our hook is just going to be barely at the end of the nose of that bait, so if he bites it, he's going to have the whole thing in there. And I'm also going to trim that skirt just a little bit. Again, I'm trying to make it a very compact package. Something that if a bass hits it, when I feel him, he's going to actually have the whole thing in his mouth, and I want it to slip through the vegetation easily. And the last component here is we're going to peg our weight. We just use a big peggot, wet it, slide it through that tungsten, Strike King tungsten weight, and pull it down semi-tight. Trim off the big end, and I like to bring it through flush right there on the bottom. I want to pull it tight again. Trim off the front side, and I'm pulling it tight so when I cut it, it goes back down. That weight's not going to grab anything. Pull it all down tight, and there you got a punch it rig that's going to work on this lake and probably work on any lake you got. Anytime you want to fish a jig but you feel that the cover's a little bit too thick to let you do it, rig you up something like this. We're going to use a heavyweight one today. You know, you can use any kind of quarter-ounce weight and just cast it around buck brush or whatever. So it's a great setup. Strike King makes about everything you need to do the job. Seaguar line, very critical. It's braided line technique out here today. So that's about it. That's my punch rig.